Hey everybody, Scott Jeffy here. I'm back with one of my Coffee with Scott sessions. You may recall if you've watched these before that the origin point of these is I have all these great conversations with former and recent colleagues. Learn so much. We have great conversations, and so often when I'm done, I think, God, I wish I could have recorded that. There was just so much there. And so I'm doing another one here today with Adam Bormann. Adam and I worked together at RNL. Adam was in the delivery shop. He was actually delivering the marketing services for clients. And today's conversation, we're going to focus on that meeting point of content development and digital marketing strategy. So, Adam, as I just said, we're going to talk about that meeting point. And so, but before we do that, Adam, tell me a bit about what you're working on now.
Sure. Thanks, Scott. I'm actually starting a new content strategist role very soon here, Monday. Whether you're doing higher ed, whether you're doing professional services, whether you're doing e-commerce, it's all the goal is still kind of the same. You have to stand out above the noise, right? Like I feel like ads they're everywhere. And it's on social media, it's on banner ads on websites, it's on search results. So we're just inundated with it continuously, and the best content is obviously going to do a better job at generating those leads. And it's you're talking about content, you have to know the audience, know what they want, and also leverage that kind of authenticity.
I couldn't agree more, and that picks right up, funny enough, where Kelsey Friedel Nelson left off last time we were talking. And that's only going to get more important as Gen Z takes over. That authenticity issue really does seem to be at the core with every succeeding generation, with every succeeding year. But let me ask you another question. When you think about the meeting point, I've already used that term, I know, but the meeting point of content development and marketing strategy, what do you think are the most important things that should guide content development?
So like I said earlier, it's knowing what your audience is like your kind of persona development, and what messaging is really going to resonate most effectively with them. I always use MBA programs as a perfect example because there's so many of them. If it were me, if I were going to pursue an MBA, like if I were looking at that, there are probably like three things I would consider in the program. Is this from a prestigious school where just having the name on my CV is going to open doors for me? Or is it going to be very cost effective, very affordable to complete? Or is it going to be quick and easy so I can get the degree and like get on my way to getting a promotion? Because I think those are the three main factors, right?
Well, that is one of those meeting points. That is that practical. I I have been urging institutions through and using my market research as the backdrop for years and saying, honestly, the focus on those practical issues of whether it be affordability or time to degree. I mean, nobody's saying an MBA program ought to be easy, but it doesn't need to be 60 credits. It can certainly be done in 30, something like that. And I'll tell you, I've been encouraging institutions to lead marketing messaging with practical issues like affordability for decades. And it's only now coming into vogue. I was on a call recently with an institution that has an MBA program. I love that you brought that example out, where they looked at what they saw is programs without name recognition, as you were saying, the ones that you want to specifically put on your CV for who they are, and then looked at the messaging of those programs, and the ones that were growing were the ones that were leading with practical messaging, whereas the ones that are languishing are the ones that are trying to solely position their program as, the quality, and quality is very important. But I know from my market research that when you ask students, graduate students or online students, or particularly graduate online students, those practical issues of affordability, convenience, flexibility, and they they rise above the quality issue in terms of the things that they rank as most important. You've kind of done this already with MBA, but Can you give me any other examples of some content that you've developed or helped develop that really worked in a sophisticated marketing strategy?
We were marketing a data science program, and like a lot of like higher ed like social creative, it's like kind of the same. It's like sort of a stock photo, or if you get lucky you have a picture of an actual student, but they're kind of like they're smiling at the camera, they're wearing a sweatshirt from the university, or they're in like a sort of business meeting type environment or something, right, where it all kind of looks the same, right? So when we were marketing this data science program, we did like an infographic style imagery where it was iconography, and there were very clear data points of like the median salary is this, the time to completion is this, the cost per credit is this, where obviously these are data people. We want to get to the heart of the issue and stand on a way that's not, doesn't look like every other kind of higher ed ad out there. So I think that's another area where like it does come back to like, knowing your audience, knowing how to speak to them directly, correctly, like hit on the things that they need to hear to make the choice. Because higher ed's definitely different than professional services or e-commerce. If you buy a coffee from an ad and you don't like it, you can throw it out and get a different one. Or if you have like a company doing your landscaping and you don't like them, you can find a different one. But like with higher ed, you really only get one shot at it a lot of the time. So you want to make sure that people are only going to make the choice once. And I'm sure that there are people that are out there with like multiple advanced degrees, but that's pretty rare. So you really only get one chance at it. You have to have the right content, and then also making sure like your speed to lead is good. Yeah, I'm probably more likely to go to whoever gets back to me the fastest probably has the best chance of converting.
And we documented that in our RNL studies when we were at like 80% of graduate and or online students indicated that they are at least likely, very likely, or definitely going to enroll at in the program that admits them first, or even responds to their inquiry first. You're so right in saying that obviously most students aren't going to ditch their MBA and try another one. I mean, that generally doesn't happen, or their advanced degree or what have you. But rather, in the screening stage, they have so much choice now that they're going to just keep looking until they find the one that resonates with them. And that issue of resonating is really important. That kind of leads me to my next question, and that is, are there things that you have to do when you're writing content now that are specifically new or different because of the digital marketing environment? Or is the continuum more gentle and less obvious?
I would say that it's definitely different. Like, for example, if you're doing like a SEO blog, you can afford to be more long form and you can explain things in greater detail. But if you're in doing a social ad, you have a pretty strict character limit. Like, you want to try to stay under like, 60 to 100. Like you have to really cut to the chase. With a search ad, there's no imagery at all, really. Well, you can do images now, but like it's purely text. So you have to, in the character limits are even shorter. You have to be even more direct. And I think too, like, this might cause us to get into a tangent about AI, but I am not as bullish on AI as some other people are. If you're using AI to write your content and have leaning on it too heavily, it's going to sound just like everybody else's that they are leveraging, and that's doing the exact opposite of what you want to do to stand out. So I mean, that's definitely changed the game. Now it is helpful for streamlining parts of the creative process.
Of
Like
course it is, yeah.
you can feed it information, and I know based on I've had clients who've done this and this copy is effective. Take this and like transmute it into copy for a different vertical using some of these same points to get the key messages across. It's good for like a first draft or something to get you started. But I feel like if I'm writing like a longer form article, like I want to write almost all of it myself and use the as like it's kind of a sounding board, and then maybe I'll pick some pieces out to use. But I also feel like to be frank, like clients are paying us to do it, not to go to ChatGPT and put it in and pull it out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, that great book by Ethan Mollick that I keep on mentioning, he's also not saying, and you're not saying that people shouldn't use AI, but that it's going to be the be all and end all is already starting to be proven to not be the greatest idea. First of all, we're always going to need experts like you and me and my field and everything else. And if we put everything in the hands of AI, in a decade, we're not going to have any experts to correct it. So that's just the point, that you want it to sound unique and you want it to reflect this specific institution. So yeah, I know could talk for days for that, and we probably should move on here. What are three things that institutions need to do to produce content that works in a successful digital marketing strategy today?
I think again the first one is the authenticity. I think especially for you have to be kind of honest about what your selling points are. Like if you don't have this crazy amount of prestige, if people don't really know who you are outside of a 2 hour driving radius of your campus, like you got to be honest with yourself. If you're not the fastest or the most affordable, be honest about that. I think that focusing on outcomes is obviously very important. And to tie into that, also just being direct. There's so many times where you see ad copy and it says like, advance your career. Why else would I be doing right? Like I'm not doing it just for fun.
Right.
There's some sort of goal. I think you need to speak to people more plainly and more directly. And like, I think all great marketing, it cuts to you got to answer why should you choose this program over the hundreds, if not thousands, of other online programs. With online programs specifically, you're playing against everybody. There's so much competition that it can be very difficult to really answer why should they choose you, and you have to be honest about what your selling points are compared to everybody else and communicate them very clearly and directly.
I love that point, and you're spot on with the great Seth Odell, who I follow on LinkedIn, world-class marketer also, who recently said in one of his posts, he posed the question, are you advertising your institution or the industry?
Yeah,
Interested in what he meant by that. And what he said was, so often those messages, like the ones you just mentioned, those bland messages, those are advertising what higher ed does. They're not
yeah, exactly.
advertising,
That's a great point. That's exactly true.
you
And something
know?
I've heard before where it's like you have to sell the product, not the category, not the
Absolutely.
vertical.
We are in agreement there. So I really do appreciate that. Look, I'm gonna close now because I think this is great. And as everybody that's listening knows, I'm not great at keeping time, but I think we've done a pretty good job here, Adam. And so I really thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, it's great to be on. This is the first time I've done any sort of like uh interview podcast like this. So this is great to finally share some of my learned expertise,
Yeah,
if you can
well,
call it expertise.
I love that practical approach you're taking. I just think that that's what's invaluable to institutions right now. Also, you're not two generations removed from the student
I mean,
population. You're
just
maybe
just
one
one, I guess.
generation.
I mean,
Exactly.
I'm a kind of an elder millennial, so I mean, I feel like it doesn't
Yeah,
seem like it, but college was a while ago for me. So
exactly. All right. Well, hey, thanks for joining. For everybody that is listening, leave us a comment on what you think and what the keys to your digital marketing strategy are with regard to content. Otherwise, we'll keep watching and we'll have a couple more of these coming out soon. All right. Take care.
thanks, Scott.